Good morning, everyone. Ranger Jake here in Yellowstone National Park. I'm standing at the north entrance in Gardner, Montana, in front of the famous Roosevelt Arch over my right shoulder here. It's about 5 degrees, I think is what my car said this morning. 5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 30 degrees warmer than it was last week. We had negative 25-degree temperatures. But it is a beautiful day. It's a little windy. We got elk on the ridge behind me over my shoulder. We got birds chirping. We got Electric Peak rising in the distance. That's all covered in snow. So it is a beautiful day. But we're not just here to talk about the scenery. We're here to share some big news with you today. And that is that today, March 1st, 2022, marks the 150th anniversary that President Ulysses S. Grant created the world's first national park by signing the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act. At 2.2 million acres, Yellowstone National Park is the heart of this entire ecosystem. So the park and the surrounding area is what we refer to as the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Some interesting tidbits about what make this place so special. Let's talk about geologically speaking. So millions of years ago, Yellowstone is an active volcano and sits atop a cooling magma chamber. There have been many volcanic eruptions over the history of millions of years, and we've had 3 supervolcanic eruptions. So you may have seen headlines that Yellowstone is a giant volcano that's about to erupt. We're here to assure you that that's not going to happen. We've had 3 of those supervolcanic eruptions, and the last of which was about 631,000 years ago. But as it rains and snows and all of that groundwater kind of settles in the caldera and goes down through the soil. Eventually, it'll hit the heat that's radiating from that cooling magma chamber, and it develops hydrothermal features like hot springs and geysers. And Yellowstone is home to over 10,000 of those hydrothermal features, and it has over half the world's active geysers. So there's a lot of really cool geologic things taking place here in the park. In addition to that, we have abundant wildlife and spectacular scenery. And because of those things, we've had people in this area for over 10,000 years. So Yellowstone is a park for 150 years, but if you go back 10,000 years ago, we had American Indian tribes living, hunting, gathering. They were quarrying obsidian and using the thermal waters that are here in Yellowstone National Park. And we want to make a point also to not just talk about tribes in the past tense, and that's because today there are currently 27 tribes with historic and modern connections to the land and resources that are found within the area now known as Yellowstone National Park. In addition to tribal history, this park is also home to a combined 25 historic sites, landmarks, and districts on the National Register of Historic Places. If you are doing the math this morning, Yellowstone's 150 years old. We celebrated the National Park Service Centennial in 2016. You can see that Yellowstone is significantly older than the National Park Service. Yellowstone was created in 1872, and it wasn't for another 44 years until the National Park Service was established. And so there have been a handful of people who have managed this park in its 150 years existence. And we have learned a lot of what not to do is a lot of what we've learned. In the past, we exterminated all predators. We hunted wolves, cougars, and bears. We tried to protect animals like bison, but we almost lost bison due to poachers in the early 1900s. There were only about 20, if we say like 20, less than 25 bison after all of the hunting and poaching that was taking place in the park. We suppressed wildfire for such a long time that in 1988, when we had the wildfires of that summer, nearly 40% of the park burned in a single summer. But what we've learned from the past of what not to do, those lessons that we've learned are informing what we have been doing in recent decades and what we hope to do in the future. And if you look about how we manage bison, bears, fish, wolves, and fire in recent decades, the changes in management and how we have adapted, it has allowed Yellowstone the ecosystem here to become the healthiest and arguably the wildest that it's been in over a century. But today we're facing new challenges. So some things that people don't normally think about are things like employee housing shortages, historic preservation, effects of climate change, transboundary wildlife management, increasing visitation, deteriorating infrastructure. These are all really, really big issues that affect the people who live and work in Yellowstone National Park, the people who visit this place from around the world. It can have effects on the things that we're here to protect, the resources of the park, and also our surrounding communities, like here in Gardner, Montana, where we're filming right now. So to tackle these challenges, in recent years we've developed 5 strategic priorities that focus on our workforce. They focus on the resources, both cultural and natural. They focus on our visitors and gateway communities, infrastructure, roads, bridges, telecommunications, and our park partners, because we definitely can't protect this place alone. So our plan is throughout this summer, as we make improvements on the various strategic priorities, we'll continue to share those with you on social media and other avenues. So we'll look forward more to that. And so we're here, we're commemorating today as being the 150th anniversary of Yellowstone. But if you look around, and you can kind of notice here, we're chattering a little bit, it's not the greatest time of year to explore that all Yellowstone has to offer. So from now through August, we will be hosting and participating in a variety of virtual and partner efforts for people to help commemorate, or for people to commemorate the 150th anniversary with us. And to talk more about that, I'm going to introduce our 150th anniversary coordinator, Christina White.
Hi everyone, I'm Christina, and one of the things that I do is coordinate 150 years of Yellowstone. The best part of my job is that I get to work with all of our incredible partners, both people in and around the park to folks all over the country and the world who care about Yellowstone. Together, we're working on a series of activities and events that highlight Yellowstone's past, present, and future. We really hope this year will go beyond just a celebration and launch us into opportunities to take what we learned from the past to help shape the next 150 years. So I'm excited to share with you just a few of the many things that we have planned for this year. To kick us off, later today, we'll be joining the Northern Arapaho and Eastern Shoshone tribes of the Wind River Reservation to talk about tribal stories, viewpoints, and elevating tribal voices into park management decisions. Later this spring, you can catch us talking the latest science and research with Montana State University at the Biennial Science Conference, or talking about policy, law, management, and tribal engagement with the University of Wyoming. And later in May, we'll be celebrating our partnership with one of our concessionaires, Yellowstone National Park Lodges. And in addition to those partner events, I want to share with you a few things that we're doing inside the park this year. One of the first things we're working on is a project that's long overdue, and that's employee housing. A lot of people don't think about employee housing when we think about managing Yellowstone, but one of the things that we've learned is that without an adequate place to live, our employees have a tough time taking care of the park. And speaking of old buildings, we're also kicking off a project to rehabilitate Fort Yellowstone in Mammoth, right up the road here. If you've been to Mammoth, these are the older buildings that the Army constructed in the late 1800s and early 1900s, before the National Park Service even existed. And if scenic drives are more your thing, one of my favorite parts of the park is reopening later this spring. After 2 years of construction, Dunraven Pass is opening on May 27th to the public. The road will be safer and smoother, and there will be more areas for you to pull out and take those pictures or just take in the view. If you already have a trip planned to the park this summer, then come visit us at the Tribal Heritage Center at Old Faithful. Thanks to our friends and partners at Yellowstone Forever, we're piloting a Tribal Heritage Center where members of our associated tribes can come share stories, art, and presentations with all of you this year. And if you're here in late August, stop by the Teepee Village that some of our friends and partners are putting up right over here between the arch and the north entrance. And we're just really excited to see all those teepees back in the park. Finally, the last thing I want to share with you is that we do expect another really busy summer in Yellowstone. So there will be a lot of opportunities to celebrate and engage with us virtually this year. And in fact, we're going to bring Yellowstone to you. So to tell you a little bit more about that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jake. Thanks.
Thank you, Christina. So as she mentioned, we're bringing Yellowstone to you, and how we're going to do that, what that looks like, is twice each month for the entire summer. Our social media team will be moderating a series of conversations with subject matter experts on a variety of topics. Some things like we'll do a behind-the-scenes tour of our historic vehicle collection. We'll talk about park history, park management, wildlife research in the park, historic preservation, tribal connections, and anything else that you want to learn about. So what we encourage you to do is, in the comments section of this video, let us know what you're interested in learning more about, and we will do our best to share those stories with you this summer as part of that video series. So with that, we're pretty chilly. We're starting to get cold out here. So I want to thank Christina for taking the time to come out here and tell us a little bit about the efforts that we're planning for the 150th anniversary this year. And I think I can safely speak for everyone here at Yellowstone when I say we look forward to chatting with you, whether it's in the park here at a visitor center desk or somewhere in the park, or whether it's virtually with you joining us through this virtual video series. So on that note, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for celebrating Yellowstone's 150th anniversary, and thank you for your support of Yellowstone National Park.